Be prepared, because you don't know the day and the hour when the Lord will come. We are in the beginning of the season of Advent, the beginning of the liturgical calendar of the Church, and the Church is asking us to really prepare for the coming of Christ. Many people prepare for Christmas, is obvious. Many houses are already decorated. Many stores, when you go shopping, it's all full of Christmas ornament to be attractive to people to buy. And so they are already preparing what television they are going to buy to replace what they have, and what gift they are going to give, which is nothing wrong in that. But many people do not understand that the Advent season is not just preparing to celebrate and commemorate the birth of Christ, which although we come to that conclusion, but is preparing us to celebrate the second coming of Christ, when he comes not to be a baby and the need of each one of us to take care of him, but he comes to be our judge, to give each one of us what we have done with our life that he have given us. In the first reading today, we find the prophet Isaiah speaking to us about that the Lord is going to call each one of us to this mount of Zion. And there we are going to be with the Lord. And so we have to re-understand that this day will come when we are going to be with him, if we are really faithful to him. In the gospel today, we find Jesus remind us that the days will come like the day of Noah. When Noah was building the ark, everyone was making fun of him. Everyone was telling him that he is out of mind. But when Noah entered the ark together with his people and all the animals that he selected to bring in, and closed the door of the ark and began to rain, and the rain began to rise up, and lots of rain came, that even the ark was lifted up by the water and carried away. Many people then realized that what Noah is doing was not foolish. It was them who are foolish, who did not take the hint, who does not take the warning. And this is exactly Jesus said, when he is going to come, he is going to come at a day and hour that no one expected to him to come. How many of you can tell me that next year you are going to have another Advent? How many of you are going to say that this coming year we are not going to see the Lord? How many of you are sure that you are going to be here? And that's why the church put this few weeks of Advent to prepare ourselves to meet our God, and to meet our God to see what we have done with what he has given us. God is like that story of the parable of Jesus, that he, before the king left for his assignment or for his work that he has to do, he handed down his wealth to his people. To some he gave 5, to some he gave 2, and to one he gave 1 of his belongings. And he asked them to go and really double them, and really work them, and really be to really be good people, to do good job with them, and to enterprise them. And we know that when he come back, he found that the first and second were very good, but the third one was very lazy. In fact, he hid what the master has given him, because he was afraid to lose it. And we know that the Lord not only was angry at him, but even take away from him what he gave him. And the same thing will happen to us, dear people. Jesus reminds us today in that gospel that when he comes with his angels to really judge the world, he's not going to give us the second chance. The chance has been given to us many times, and now it's up to us to take that chance and walk with it and go with it. But I like to focus today my few words on the second reading, which is so beautiful, from chapter 13 of the Romans. St. Paul there is speaking to the Christians who now they are interfering or he are mingled with the Romans. And now the philosophy of the Romans is wearing on, is really catching up with the Christians. And the Christians, now that they have accepted Jesus, are also accepted the style of life of the Romans. And St. Paul was not very happy about it, and he said to them, this is the time to wake up from your sleep. This is the time that you wake up from your what you are doing. Take off the armor of darkness that you are putting on. Put on the armor of light, because that's what you are, light of Christ. And if you are really light of Christ, you are not going to associate with orgy, with other promiscuous things, with jealousy and rival that you sometimes are familiar with because of the association with the philosophy of the Romans. And now I am asking you to be prepared, because the day is here. The day is really very near. And so, as people of light, seek to do what is right. Stay away from darkness and prepare for the coming of Christ. And that is what the church is trying to say to us on this first Sunday of Advent. That we need to prepare. We need to take away all the darkness, all the sin away from us. Because the inclination of the flesh is not going to make us ready and prepare for the coming of Christ. This flesh is the most horrible enemy of our personal soul. This flesh is the worst enemy of the soul, because this flesh is not satisfied with little. The more we give her, the more she wants. And that is not Christ. Christ emptied himself for the love of humanity. The more we love Christ, the more we empty ourselves from pride, empty ourselves from jealousy, empty ourselves from rival, empty ourselves from all those things that divide us. Because Christ came to unite us. Comes, Jesus said to the apostles, and this is the will of the Father, that you will be one. As one I am with the Father, you must be one. And this what identify you, that you belong to me, by the love that you have for each other. My dear people, this is what Advent is all about. Advent is looking forward to celebrate the birth of Christ, to commemorate the birth of Christ, because he's not going to be born again, but also looking forward for his coming. And in the meantime, we have to exercise that kindness and love and compassion that the Lord Jesus gave us. And what is the love and compassion that the Lord gave us? That we need to be mindful of our relationship with him, that relation will grow, that the readings of the missal, the readings of the daily mass, has to be read every day before you go to sleep, and let them fester, let them really marinate in you, so that in the morning when you hear them at mass, it really give a new light to your heart. And that is the way you grow spiritually and in union with him. This is what the Lord is asking us to do. And after we have that relationship with the Lord, which is the greatest gift that God can give us, because from that relationship, other relationship is going to us inspire, then we have to really be concerned of the needs of those around us. Many people, during this Thanksgiving have been very fortunate by many people who donate, whether food, whether clothing, whatever it is, to have a good celebration of Thanksgiving. But really there are people who are really so much in need of our care, especially this coming Christmas. Not only the gifts that we give them, because gifts, they are something that they enjoy at the moment and they put them aside the following day, but we need to give them bread and water. We need to feed them. We need to care for them. We need to be there for them. This is the preparation of really to meet Christ. Because at the end of the journey, dear people, Christ is not going to tell me how much masses I said or how much things I did, to fulfill my ministry, but he is going to say to me, I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was ill and in prison. What do you do for me? There are people who are hungry of word of encouragement from you and from me. There are people who are thirsty to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. There are people who are homeless, not because they don't have a home to live, but although they live in homes, they are so lonely. There are people who are in prison of their sin, in prison of their vices, in prison of their, behavior. And we need to bring them out of that behavior. We need to bring them to Christ. This is what Advent is all about. Advent is when God so loved the world, He sent His Son to shower us with the message of love. And that message of love now God gave us and trusted to us before He goes to the Father. Go and teach all nations. And by your love and by unity you show to the world that I have sent you. My dear people, this is what Advent is all about. To commemorate the coming of Christ, to look forward for the coming of Christ as we celebrate in the Mass. How often the Church said to us that we look forward for the coming of Christ. Especially when we recite the Creed today, the last sentence of the Creed is that we are waiting for that coming of Christ. And that wedding of Christ can be imminent, can be day, can be night, can be now and can be tomorrow. And also in the meantime of these two events, we need to celebrate what Christ intended for us to do, to be charitable, to be loving, to be concerned about others. May this Advent season be for us to reconcile with other people if we are really in difference with them, and to really understand that this life that we're living in is very short comparing to eternity. So when He comes, and He comes because He promised to come again, He will find us ready doing His bidding. God bless.